Today we're going to be reacting to the Super Bowl halftime event. Let's talk about it. So for those of you who live under a rock, the Super Bowl halftime event happened. And what this basically is, can't believe I explained this. You should know what the Super Bowl is, but it's basically American football. And midway through the show, they have a performance by a big time celebrity. And this year was Bad Bunny. For those of you guys who don't know what Bad Bunny is, he is an American Puerto Rican artist. I think I'm saying that right. And, you know, he performs his songs mainly in Spanish. He doesn't speak English in his music. But that's very important for you to remember because that's the topic we're going to get to in this video. Now, I'm not a Bad Bunny fan at all, you know, but what I did find interesting, though, about this whole Super Bowl halftime event is the amount of controversy that seemed to be circulating around a Puerto Rican American performing at the halftime event, because Puerto Rico is in America. Bad Bunny is an American civilian. I am getting that right, correct? So if that's the case, someone please tell me why conservative Americans had a problem with an American perform at the halftime event. You know, a lot of these guys had a lot of things to say. And one of the main things was that Bad Bunny speaks Spanish. And this is America, where Americans are meant to speak English and stuff like that, you know? There's even cases of people saying that Bad Bunny doesn't represent Christian values. And America, which is a Christian country, goes against all of that nonsense evil that Bad Bunny promotes. I can understand if someone may look at Bad Bunny's past and think to themselves, oh, well, Bad Bunny isn't exactly the most God-fearing person and blase, blase, blase. But if you guys know about me on this channel, hypocrisy is one thing we do not stand for here. Let's take a look at this.
We turned on the Super Bowl to see a man screaming in Spanish on our TV screens. No, that wasn't a protester. It was who the NFL picked to perform the halftime show. How did this happen? Like, how did we allow this into society today? Because we were told to feel guilt, that we were supposed to hate the nation that gave us the same freedom. The protest that Bad Bunny gave to America is allowed because he lives in America and has that right. He's attacking the same country that's giving him the right to attack it. You also understand that the same guy that's been chanting "Iced Out" for the past few weeks sits behind a heavily guarded mansion in this country that's apparently on stolen land. He doesn't want you to be enforced on the streets with our law, but I bet if somebody came up and tried to attack him, he would have had one of his officers shoot them. You understand that, like, it's accepted in social settings for halftime shows in a football game to be partisan political stunts? I'm from a college football town. I'm obsessed with football. It's all I watch. I don't turn on football to get political rants. You shouldn't either.
I think that the fact that we are tolerating this demonic behavior in a stage where millions and millions of people are going to watch it is unacceptable. There's going to be kids, there's going to be teens watching this, there's going to be young people, extremely easy to influence watching this type of video, listening to this music. Unacceptable.
The last thing I want to talk to you about is because I'm about ready to do my commentary on it, but do you think Bad Bunny is a good choice for the Super Bowl?
I'm not that knowledgeable about him, but it seems fine, and I don't know why it's a big deal. Seems like a great American artist, so sure.
He's not an American artist, but
he's Puerto Rican. That's part of America, dear.
Yeah, you don't think you have any problem with him saying like the ICE is? Well, I'm sure you don't. Mother effers and sons of and that he's not going to perform here due to immigration.
America agrees with him on that. I mean,
so?
Majority of Americans think ICE has gone too far. They've watched videos of like 79-year-old business owners be slammed to the ground and their ribs broken by ICE. So I think the American people are probably on board with that message at this point, Tommy.
Okay. Well, whoever you're talking to, I'm sure is. I'm not so sure the rest of the country is, but.
Now, the thing about these conservative Americans is that the reason why nobody takes them seriously is because they complain about the wrong things. The Epstein files literally got released a few days ago. A lot of crazy things were released, circulating back to Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and a lot of people in power that have been involved with child sacrifices and molesting and having sexual intercourses with children, doing the most disgusting things on this human planet. And you mean to tell me that the thing that these guys are concerned about, these people that protect the virtues of America and freedom and rights and democracy, you mean to tell me these guys are making a ruckus about a Spanish-speaking person performing at the Super Bowl halftime event? And this is why I can never take these guys seriously. And there's no hate to them, but it's more of a thing where it's like I make these videos hoping that at least changes one of their hearts to think the right way. I hope. It's very difficult because they're very stubborn, but I would hope this video changes their mind in some kind of way. We have millions of problems in the world, all kinds of things going on, and this is what they're complaining about. I thought America had more swag than this. You know, when I grew up, I used to think that America was this swag place, and I always used to tell myself that I was born in the wrong country, and that when I grow up, I'm going to move to America. But the whole place is a joke now. Those strip, like, what are they doing, man? If that wasn't funny enough, we're going to talk about what, you know, these conservative Americans did in kind of like a petty way to counterattack this whole Super Bowl halftime event. Like you guys know, they didn't like this whole thing of a Spanish-speaking person performing at the Super Bowl. So what they decided to do, which is a company called Turning Point USA, they hosted this event where now they said, well, actually, if you don't want to watch the halftime event, we're gonna perform with all American, you know, musicians. So that goes from some ladies and some guys who are fully about the American dream, and they speak American, all types of things like that. Now, you would think that, okay, if you want to do that, go and do that in your corner. We don't really care. But the interesting thing about it for me is that these Turning Point USA people, these conservative Americans, seem to be very big on deportation. You know, they've made it very big that the reason why they support these ICE deportations is because a lot of these immigrants that they're deporting are, you know, rapists against the women and children. So they need to go by. So what made me laugh then is when an individual is performing at this event who said these words in his songs.
Olsen twins. Why is every guy in America waiting for these chicks to turn 18? I mean, you know what I say? If there's grass on the field, play ball!
Why I, as a priest, will not be supporting Bad Bunny this week. One of his lyrics literally says, young ladies, I like them underage. Some say that's statutory, I say that's mandatory. My life ain't that complex, 2 40s and a Rolex. Oh wait, isn't that Kid Rock, the headliner for Turning Point USA?
Young ladies, I like them underage. See, some say that's statutory, but I say it's mandatory.
The counter all-American faithful response for the halftime show? Yes. Do we see how ridiculous that is? If you're watching the Turning Point headliner instead of Bad Bunny, you are being tricked into thinking this is the more faithful way to respond. It was never about values. It was never about being more Christian. It was not to support the immigrant. Just to clarify, immigrant presenting citizen who doesn't conform to whiteness and is still loved by the masses. That's the problem. Hope you tune in, especially this year, to the halftime show to watch Bad Bunny. Ice out.
Now, there's a lot of things that makes this whole event very stupid, but I want to touch on this very specific point because these guys claim that they care so much about, you know, protecting of children and the innocence and stuff like that, yet they platform and put this guy on a pedestal to be their musician that goes against, you know, the Spanish speaking guy. And, you know, this is meant to be a good alternative, you know, because this is what true American values are. But I've started to get confused. Are American values not to counterattack things like pedophilia and rape and all kinds of things like that, and having a traditional family in the home and stuff like that, and preserving the purity of people? Like, isn't that what apparently true conservative Christian values are? So if that's the case, why are you having an individual that's on the stage who has spoken confidently about, you know, wanting to mess with underage people? In addition to that, why are you guys not holding your own president accountable for the ties that he's had to Jeffrey Epstein? A lot of these people like to say, oh, well, he didn't actually have any ties. He did, guys. He did. A lot of these witnesses have came out saying Donald Trump has been a part of it. You can't deny all of these witnesses. Again, I don't care about this whole situation, but I really wanted to call out the hypocrisy of these conservative TPUSA weirdos and how silly that they try to make their points when really the simple thing that they just have to say is that I'm white and I want America to be white like me too.
I'm sorry, Piers, but to get up there and perform the whole show in Spanish is a middle finger to the rest of America. Who gives a damn that we have 40 million Spanish speakers in the United States? We have 310 million who don't speak a lick of Spanish. This is supposed to be a unifying event for the country, not for the Latinos, not for one small group, but for the country. We don't need a black national anthem. We don't need a Spanish-speaking, non-English performer, and we don't need an ICE or America hater featured as our primetime entertainment.
Okay, what is the national language, officially the national language of the United States of America?
I mean, English. And there's been a push for many years to make it an official,
you don't have one.
Documented thing.
You don't have one.
If you would have let me finish my comment, I would have pointed that out, that people have been pushing to make it official.
Okay,
right,
so you're trying to make official.
This attitude that you have right here is why you in Great Britain have lost your culture. You ceded your culture to a bunch of radical Muslims who came in and took over, and now it's gone. We're not allowing that here. Whether it's Hispanic, whether it's Muslim, it's not happening in the United States of America. That's why President Trump was elected. And whether it's Bad Bunny, who is American but refuses to speak English in his performances, or anybody else, we have to keep the Super Bowl, which is a quintessential American event. Football, that kind of football, is ours. They call it American football. And the halftime show and everything around it needs to stay quintessentially American. Not Spanish, not Muslim, not anything other than good old-fashioned American apple pie. There should be a meatloaf, maybe some fried chicken, and an English-speaking performer. That's what the Super Bowl should be.
You know, I'm really tired of the cowardice and the backflipping and the flimsy, floppy, you know, flexible spine that these guys have with their points, you know?
Great supine protoplasmic invertebrate jellies.
They're saying all kinds of things like, oh, he's speaking in Spanish, yet he's an American citizen. They're saying all these things like, oh, we want to support, you know, American people performing at the halftime event, but they platform pedophiles on a consistent basis. They're against immigration because it causes more crime rates and rape, but they still are they haven't checked the pedophilia that's going on in their government at the moment.
And powerful millionaires and billionaires that have big influence over America's infrastructure in general that are found to be on the files or have close ties with people that are on the files. Like, why do all the people that have money in America have close ties with either pedophiles or are pedophiles themselves? Like, what's going on?
And that's where you have to sit down and realize that if you sit there with your good conscious self and argue with these people, you're going to be a silly person as well. You've joined the pool of silly people. Congratulations if you think that you can debate or reason with these kind of people. At the end of the day, what seems to be started off as a traditional conservative value party has now become a cult of Donald Trump, you know, worshippers that will never check him on anything, that will never check the government on anything, and rather are just simply in the business of hating people who are ethnic minorities, who are different to them, and all kinds of things like that. If it's not in their jurisdiction of whiteness, they don't want it. They don't want any business with it. But the thing is, don't be a coward and say these things that could make your point seem valid when really you just look silly. Because these points that they bring out never make their point valid. The only thing you can really think of is that you're white and you want America to be white. I would have respected them if they said that. But the fact that they keep being being losers about it. I thought these guys had more gangster and more game. You know, like, what's happening? Like, what's happened? What's really happened to America? I guess I could sit here from a, you know, idealistic mindset of, man, America really has fallen. Was America really up in the first place? I mean, from what we know, America has always had these kind of problems within it. The only difference is now that it's all front and center. The corruption, the manipulation, the lies, the hatred against ethnic minorities, wanting to take their labor, wanting to take their culture, but wanting to take their food, but not wanting to actually give them any credit for anything. You know, it's just fueled on hate against ethnic minorities, but they're holding it in the disguise of conservative values. And people aren't buying that anymore and they don't like it. But they have no one to blame for themselves, because what it started off being a closet racist is now everyone can see you guys for what you truly are. Like I said, I don't care about Bad Bunny. I'm not even a Bad Bunny fan. But it just goes to show the hypocrisy that there's more outrage over a Super Bowl halftime event rather than the craziness that's going on in your government. There's no ruckus or riot being put out, and instead people are, you know, whining and nagging about these really insignificant things that by next year is going to be a different person performing for the halftime. Let's bear this in mind. We've had years of documentation of the Epstein files, as in years, several witnesses, so many files, FBI investigation, all of that has come front and center. And they're tripping over a Super Bowl halftime event that probably lasts maybe at most 30 minutes? 30 minutes? Compared to years of things that need to be resolved. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. Man, I would never. America is such a joke now. what happened to America? What happened to the freedom and everything like that? But I guess at the end of the day, there's no what happened to it. This is what they always were like. At the time, it's just they knew that if they spoke out, they would get in trouble. But now we live in a day and age where racism is becoming the new trendy thing. You know, it's becoming the new Gap teeth in the London Strip. It's becoming the new Adidas superstars. It's becoming the new Nike Huaraches. It's becoming the new TikTok and it's a trend now. This is a trend where people are just living their truth now. And shout out to you guys. You guys are eating that up, you know, but man, these guys are just jokers. Just honestly jokers. What an embarrassing display. What do you guys think about this whole Super Bowl halftime controversy? Do you think it's as silly as I think it's silly? Or is there another perspective that maybe I'm not seeing from it? I'm probably not going to agree with you, but feel free to put what you feel in the comments. With that being said, my people, God bless, take care, and I'll see you guys next video.